All right, and now our final thing for the day and for the meeting, which is Governor Roundtable. This is an opportunity for governors to talk about what they've been doing, separate and apart from, or could include their liaison duties if they wanted to combine those, but separate and apart from our meeting, and any other issue that you wanted to explore with the Board of Governors. I see Governor Peterson's hand.
Yeah, I had a member reach out to me just a couple weeks ago. Her name was Kimberly Lane, and she is part of the law. She's one of the mentors for our law clerk program, and she was wondering if we could consider or potentially think about, giving them some sort of CLE credits for all the work they do in terms of mentoring the people that they mentor in that program. I thought it was a good idea. And so I thought, well, let's at least bring it, to the board and get, board input as to if other people think it's a good idea. I do know, and just so you know, I did, Chief Garcia and Director Platchy, I've talked to both of them, and they've both been really great in terms of kind of telling me how, different things and how things work now. But it should be noted that people that do a CLE or teach a CLA, we do give them CLE credits, and people who are part-time teachers at law school, we also give CLE credits to. And so, I think from a logical, to be logically consistent, it probably would make sense to think about giving some sort of CLA credit for these 100 or so people that, essentially donate immense amount of time, right, to help some person become a lawyer without going to law school. I'm a strong supporter of the law clerk program, and I think it is an access to justice issue. And I'm not here to, and so anyway, I'll stop there. This is more just to get other people's feelings about it, because if I'm the only person that think this is a good idea, I'm happy to go back to the member and say, we talked about it, and sorry, I think it's a great idea, but the group doesn't. So definitely appreciate people's comments and feedback.
Executive Director Nevitt, it sounds like a great idea to me too. And but has it been explored in the past? Do you know, Executive Director Nevitt?
I don't know if it has been explored in the past. I don't know if Chief Garcia does either, but I'll see if she wants to say anything about. I'm certain she could speak to what would be required if we wanted to make that a possibility.
Chief Garcia.
Yeah, so the MCLE board has reviewed a request for credit from a tutor, and that was denied, and that's because it doesn't fit anywhere within the rules right now. But the MCLE board is very open to submitting a proposed rule change and potentially working collaboration with the law clerk board. So actually both boards are now discussing the topic. The MCLE board met on the 12th, I think. No, sorry, last Friday maybe. And they talked about it, and they are open to doing that. There are two ways in which we could make that happen. And one is, as was mentioned, so law school professors, not full-time professors, so part-time instructors actually can get credit for teaching, but that wouldn't meet the definition for tutors. Another option is mentoring credit, but mentoring credit is a bit limited right now, and it's limited to members of the bar. So because they are mentoring essentially someone who's not a member, that doesn't qualify either. So there are two, ways to go about, but they would both necessitate a rule change or change to the mentoring requirements. So I think the MCLE board is leaning towards teaching credit, so that would require an amendment to APR 11, and the law clerk board is going to be discussing that in May. And hopefully the two boards can work together in figuring out if they're going to impose some sort of a limit or allow all credits to be earned that way. So I think it's just early discussions at this point.
Thank you, Chief Garcia. Governor Dresden.
Thank you. I just want to say I think it's a great idea, and thanks to Governor Peterson for bringing it forward. I'll be happy to support that when if and when it comes before us. So thanks.
Thank you. And I agree as well. It sounds like a great idea. I'm just curious whether in the past, and maybe Director Platchey, who had to leave earlier, he might have some thoughts on this too, as to what kind of potential hurdles we might face. All right, any other governors have, Governor Stevens, followed by Governor Clark.
I'm taking a big sigh for just a second. And the reason for my sigh, so I don't know how many of you governors know, but I mean, the work I do around civil rights and inequality is continuous and nonstop on various levels. And I guess I will note that I went to my first Reggie Partners meeting a couple of weeks ago. And there wasn't a lot of substantive discussion, but when we went into caucusing, there was a lot of discussion among the caucus of people of color around how we were holding up with reliving what happened with George Floyd, watching the trial and seeing continuous and new and additional instances in which people of color are either put at risk of their life by the police or by individual mad people who, for example, with the killings in Atlanta, the difficulty of too many of the people in our country defaulting always to race has nothing to do with what just happened. It becomes the continuous fight that we have, and I say we, because so many people of color have to deal with things that they know to be true, and that I guess I'm not even sure I'm going to say the majority, but the default is that it's not about race. It's not about hate. It's not about oppression. It's about something else. And then we give the reasons for all the something else. There is, I hope with the DEI trainings we have that we will get on a path of actually going back and revisiting our history and connecting our history to the current situation in which we find ourselves, so that we don't just allow someone to say, oh, there's no such thing as systemic racism, while all along looking at almost every aspect of our society having differences based on race. You know, I was even thinking about Crow and the people who don't want to be a part of the association if the association is speaking about political issues, and And I thought about what that also meant, which is we also want to make sure that people of color don't speak out on those issues or don't bring them here. You know, I thought about, so for the minority bar associations or the specialty bar associations that spoke up and were much harsher in their criticism, even of the last president, I began to wonder, so where are our First Amendment rights to be able to express ourselves? Where are our First Amendment rights to be able to say to the associations that we belong to that this is unacceptable? So that we are not blocked from expressing ourselves and our speech. Because the tendency is to, again, try very hard to normalize what has been from the outset abnormal, abhorrent behavior. And then I look at, I mean, we are looking at, well, even I look at January 6th and what happened there, and an absolute decision to flip the script and say either what happened didn't happen or what happened didn't happen by the people that were there, or what happened because of crazies on the left. And I just share with you all, my colleagues, that at times it is too much. I think about what we did this earlier regarding the bar exam. I hope you actually heard Eileen Limerick. But a part of this is also, you know, it's not enough to say, oh, we want to hear your views, and then we're going to do what we want to do anyway. So in that whole issue, while I can kind of move on, another part of me says, well, you know, yeah, but we want to do what we want to do. And we don't really, we want to hear from you. And then we want to thank you for bringing your concerns to us. And then we're going to do what we're going to do anyway, without a pause. And to think that doesn't have an impact. It does. It does. And yet, you know, a number of us will continue to move that ball forward. You know, there are times I certainly feel like, and I don't know how else to put it, but from time to time, like the skunk at the picnic, because everything is just fine. And either I'm quiet or I have to put on the table things that need to be said. And I don't mind that role in a way, because that's where we are in this country. But I do hope you understand why I see the need, especially now that I am approaching 70 years old, that I cannot sit and be either quiet or popular or just go along. And I hope you understand that. It is my greatest honor. It is one of my greatest honors to serve on this Board of Governors. But there is also a task that I have to make sure I do so as not to just take up space for voices that have not been heard. And I'm not saying I'm the only one. One last point, and I see PG isn't here. Since I mentioned that I'm approaching 70, and I may be among the older members on the Board of Governors by age. And I'm not going to call anybody else out who may be along those lines, except for PJ. I think PJ and I both are pretty clear. I do hope, President Cicchetti, that we absolutely seriously consider not going to Boise. I heard the last time just talking about why we go to Spokane, et cetera, et cetera. As a father who has had a child who got COVID, and as somebody who is at risk, and as somebody who hears us all say we're tired of it, I have a real problem when we still act like we don't hear what the science is telling us and what people are telling us. And so we're tired of COVID, and yet we do things that actually contribute to the continuation of the spread. And I would certainly hope we wouldn't spend our time or our dollars in a state that is behaving as if it completely doesn't care. Because my problem and my concern is actually, while we talk about mask mandates and whether we have 25% or 50% in restaurants and bars, et cetera, COVID does not care. And it is continuing to naturally propagate and looks for practices where we open ourselves up to the variants because they're going to do what they're going to do. And so my hope is that we won't just go places where people are acting to the contrary. Because I love you all, and I don't think we need to be putting ourselves in harm's way in that way. I don't want to see any of us find ourselves in a bad situation. So thank you all for hearing me out. Didn't mean to take too long, Mr. President, but by the way, this week I'll be facilitating a discussion at my parish that's been looking at racism throughout, and we're now looking at again white supremacists and those issues. So, thank you all.
Thank you, Governor Stevens, and it's been an honor serving along with you as well. Governor Clark.
It's my luck. Boy, thanks, Alec. But Kyle, on the agenda, did we miss special reports? There's like 4 special reports on the agenda we didn't go through. And I'm saying you just skipped them. Is that right?
I believe we did them yesterday.
The liaison reports?
No, I know okay, when I looked at it as the one for the work right now.
We did the legislative session report, the update on the future of work, and the liaison reports yesterday afternoon. My report on the future work was really brief, so I wouldn't be surprised if you missed it.
Okay, then. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Governor Clark. Okay, and just to let Governor Stevens know, and I do know that you are serious about Idaho, and we are looking at that. We're also in Portland, and let me assure you that the people in Portland do take the COVID very seriously, as seriously as Washington does. And this week we've taken all the precautions. Executive Administrator Shelley Bynum has done yeoman's work to keep us all safe, and and we're very appreciative of her and everything that she's done and the WSBA has done to at least allow a few of us to gather and experiment, which I think is a good step forward. But if realize that if there's ever a time that we think that the danger outweighs the benefit, then absolutely we're going to change course and we're going to do what's needed to protect the safety of our volunteers and staff. So we'll continue to be looking at that, whether that's Seattle, whether that's Boise, Portland, whatnot. Okay, with that, I'm not seeing any other hands. It's 3:10. That's not too bad. I don't think it's a record, but it's in the right direction. Oh, President Majumdar, you're going to slow me down here.
I'm protecting my record. No, nothing too meaningful. You did say something very meaningful, but I just want to also express that President Cicchetti has been expressing that to me privately through this whole time. Also, as of other governors, we're all in awe of what Shelley has done to pull this off single-handedly, practically. And it's been an amazing event. Thanks to her, it's been a very safe one. Thank you so much, Shelley.
All right, with that, then we'll go ahead and adjourn, and safe travels to all of the folks here in Spokane, and we'll see everybody next month in Seattle, virtually or otherwise.